Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, may I have your attention, please? Are you ready to engage in a mind-blowing experience and hear talks about life, technology, entertainment, and business? The next episode of HIPTHER Talks starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, good day, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of HIPTHER Talks. Today we're having with us Amanda Solomon. Welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us. You know what? I'm sure it will be quite an interesting talk. Amanda is the executive director of X1 Talent. Welcome. Just without any further ado, just shed some light on your background, who you are, what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. I know it's early in the morning for me, later in the evening for you, and we're able to make it work. As you mentioned, I'm Amanda Solomon. I am the executive director at X1 Talent. We were previously Tyrus Talent, where I was the CEO. This was prior to our acquisition. So X1 Entertainment recently acquired my talent agency back in August of this year. And we actually went through a rebrand, kind of like name change, to really like be one with the main company as they continue to grow in the space. So I come predominantly from the talent agency side, representing all sorts of content creators, eSports pros, amateurs, YouTube entertainers. And, what my day-to-day almost looks like now is a bit more high level, working with all of my directors on what they do. So I don't get to be as involved in all the intricacies of the business. Now I really just get to help kind of like set that roadmap and set that vision for the company, which is super exciting.
Okay, awesome. Sounds really interesting. Now, what is an esport influencer, or who are the people and what's their background? Who are the people that really kick the things on?
Yeah, absolutely. So an esports influencer versus like just a traditional influencer, to me, my definition, I don't know if there's like a set definition, but what I consider it is a professional esports player who is also a content creator and influencer of some kind, whether, in the off season, they're streaming on Twitch, creating YouTube, walkthrough guides. Maybe they're also a coach. Maybe they're somehow influential in their space. And this to me is kind of like across all games. So this could be, League of Legends, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, like any game that has that, professional level has a set of influencers. And I don't think that every esports player is necessarily an influencer, right? Like, I don't think every single, Call of Duty player in, the CDL is super well known, prevalent, posts on socials. So I think it's like that added layer of like, what are they doing in the industry with, their prospective audiences to kind of like influence them, whether it's just entertainment or, something on another level.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that an esports player and an influencer, like separate entities, do you think that one of them could get to be an esports influencer by piggyback riding one of it? I mean, if we have a really good player that does not create content on a daily basis, and one day he decides that, hey, I want to be an esports influencer, I'm a really good player, can he just get into that business easier if he's already a well-known player, and vice versa? If there's this influencer that is not really in the esports right now, could it be way easier to become an esports influencer just by tackling games?
Not necessarily. I think so. Like the first way, being a pro player, becoming an influencer, I think could be a little bit easier. But then again, if nobody knows your face, nobody is used to you posting on Twitter or Instagram or creating videos, like there is going to be a ramp up period where people have to get used to your content or your stream time. And so like, while I may think it would probably be easier than like someone like me who's neither of them. I still think it's challenging. But then on the flip side, influencer to esports, I think that is significantly more difficult, because if you look at any esport, like, not to continue to bring up Call of Duty, but like there are intricacies within each game that people, like audiences, respect the expert level commentary, analysis, opinions, etc. That if you are not someone at that level, skill-wise or like mentally, even just knowing the game at that level, I think you just won't be as relevant as the other people who are experts in that space.
Yeah, but in the same time, I'm thinking, like, for example, if Keanu Reeves starts playing whatever, he's going to have like a huge boost, a huge pool of already of audience that already knows him, and they're going to be catched on in this whole thing just because they follow him as a
Well, he's like an
non-esports.
A-list celebrity. I would watch Keanu Reeves do anything in the world. I would watch him do. But yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. But okay, so to that point, any Keanu Reeves fans, let's say he doesn't know Call of Duty very well. Is he going to be looked at as an esports influencer? No, he's going to be just looked at as an influencer who plays or speaks about Call of Duty. Yeah, so he would have to like become an expert. Like, I don't think people would look to him for like, what's the latest on League of Legends news? Like, Keanu Reeves, go. Like, I think he would really need to like really like dedicate and get into it before people would listen to him on that type of level. The same way you would listen to like another esports like analyst, for example.
I see. Well, I totally get your point, but however, considering we're talking about Keanu Reeves, he may be learning everything in like 24 hours or so.
He already knows it all. Yeah. Joke's on us. He knows everything.
Yeah. So I'm going to stick with the notion of an esports influencer. What's the day-to-day routine? What does an esport influencer do on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I work more on the representation side. So when they're in competition mode, I'm a little less familiar, so I won't speak to like an active season day to day. But on strictly an off-season influencer side of things, I know most of them are really trying to keep healthy. A lot of my content creators will be in the gym in the morning, eating a healthy breakfast, really like getting the day going. And most of them are either creating YouTube videos, TikToks, and or streaming. And so it'll kind of be, the entire day will be a mix of either live form content streaming on Twitch, or creating that like fun TikTok content, or creating and then editing their YouTube videos. And that's really like what a day-to-day is. I know a lot of time goes into content creation in some form or another. Usually 8 to 10 hours a day from what I've seen, especially, like the more popular they are on platforms, I think the more content they're making, the more high quality content they're making. And, now in the last few years with TikTok being so popular, you're not only creating YouTube videos and streaming, but you're having to make TikToks as well. And many people are having to make several TikToks per day, posting multiple TikToks per day. And so that's just one additional layer added to their already very busy schedule.
I see. Now, is this whole esports influencer thing popular like all around the world? And if so, are there differences on demand in terms of content between regions, like take Europe, Asia, US? Are the same games the ones that are popular and are always in the top charts?
I think for the most part, you're going to see the same games pretty popular across regions, like League of Legends in the US versus, like League of Legends in the EU. Like, it is very popular across the board. League of Legends in Asia, like there is the same type of popularity. The influencers, the players are different. It's not the same player in all of these regions, but I believe that like the influencing is really done across borders. People, are cheering for their favorite teams overseas, no matter, what region they're in.
Yeah. Now, just by addressing this question, a memory just popped out. several years back, we were playing some mobile game, and I remember that there was always this problem. We had a small local team, and whenever Chinese people went online, we were just going off because we knew we couldn't have a chance at having fun. At least they were just mashing us. So, yeah. But on the content these influencers provide, you said that, let's say League of Legends, for example, it's hugely popular in the US, in EU, in Asia as well. But the influencers are different because, well, we have to relate to the local guy, I mean, sort of local guy, to the original guy that I'm following. But have you noticed if they're basically doing the same thing? I mean, are there things that are very much alike between these three regions in terms of content?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's all pretty similar. There are only so many platforms. So I don't think one region is very YouTube video focused while the other is Twitch streaming. I see all types of people across all different regions, languages, streaming the same type of way. So I think, like live streaming is one really great way for esports players, especially in League of Legends, to showcase their skills and to kind of like show their audience their gameplay outside of competitions.
And now in terms of audience, well, basically, I think that most of this audience are youngsters, teenagers. I'm having a little bit of trouble differentiating like millennials, Gen Z, Gen X. I have a trouble with the labels, but I know for a fact that young people are more attracted to this type of content. What's the attitude of older generations, of older people towards this whole esports influencer stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think some of them get it, right? They're like, oh, it's like the NFL, but for video games. Clicks for them, they get it, they love it, they support it, especially those who have kids. Like the boomers are going to have kids that are millennials, which is me. I'm 30. My parents kind of get it, kind of don't get it. I've had to explain my job probably 500 times at this point. So the ones that get it. The ones that don't get it, I think they just don't get it. But they're kids, and now their kids are playing games, whether, professionally and competitively or, just for fun. So I think the older generation's having to just get used to this very like digital way of like competing in sports.
Okay. Can you tell us a few names that you're working with?
I have no esports players right now, so it probably wouldn't be relevant.
Okay, then what about future projects or like a big target, a big dream that you have?
Big dream. That's a really great question.
Well, except having Keanu Reeves as one of your clients.
I know. We don't really have like esports on our radar for talent management. I think like the esports orgs, I don't know if you want to include this, but the esports orgs are doing a really great job of representing their players. So the need for a talent agency is really very low. That's what I've kind of like seen like in the space. I used to work over at Misfits Gaming, who has their Call of Duty League, their Overwatch League, and the LEC over in Europe. And like they do an amazing job of, even though they're not a talent agency and can't technically represent the players, they do an amazing job of providing like brand deals, partnerships, sponsorships, exposure, like growth opportunities. Like they don't really need, and I would probably my CEO would be like, what are you saying? They probably really don't need someone like us when they're so well taken care of, right? Like, and I can't compete with getting, like a big, huge multi-million-dollar like Hasbro deal, for example. Like I'm not on that level. That esports, Team Liquid's on that level, and like TSM's on that level.
But what makes the difference between having and not having a talent agency?
Well, talent agency means that you can do outreach on behalf of a content creator. That's like what the Talent Agency Act is around, is like protecting talent. So like, especially in the state of California, it's very strict. But if you're not a registered talent agency, I cannot reach out to Nike on behalf of my player or my content creator, but Nike can come to me, my player, and say, hey, we want to work with them. So that's kind of a bit of the difference on like the legal side of things.
I see. I've got a little bit of I don't know if it's tricky, but usually an uncomfortable question for some reason. How did the whole COVID stuff influence the industry?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it impacted it very positively. And by positively, I mean in growth. And I hate to say that because there was really not much that was positive about COVID, but there were so many cities and countries completely locked down. We're all stuck at home behind our computers. What's on our computers? Video games, watching streamers and content creators, becoming a content creator. Like there was so much around working from home, being stuck at home, but also the unfortunate reality of a lot of people losing their jobs and going, well, I see my favorite streamer playing World of Warcraft. I love World of Warcraft. Let me go stream it now. And so we saw a really big uptick in watch hours on Twitch. YouTube video views were up incredibly because we all had quite literally nothing else to do. We couldn't go out to dinner. We couldn't go to the bars. We couldn't see our friends. Everything was at home. And so over 2 years, it just kind of blew up.
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with, honestly, I'm not surprised at all with your answer, because I've talked, and in several industries, I've got similar answers, like, okay, leaving the actual medical problems aside, but the whole lockdown stuff just had lots of positivity to it. And now the following question in the same on the same topic. Do you see that now that things are a little bit more relaxed? Do you see the same engagement and the same growing trends on this?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I believe that numbers are down because people are going back to work. People are removing the full work from home and doing hybrid. So now people are out of the house, restaurants are open. You can kind of travel and get on airplanes and, do all of the stuff that you couldn't do a year, 2 years ago. So I do think viewership is down, but because, 2 years were spent more or less, just being at home and having certain activities and habits, I think people are still watching their favorite streamers and TikTokers and YouTubers, but I think just a little bit less. And I think we're going to continue to kind of see that go down until it plateaus. And where the plateau is, I'm not sure. I'm not like a data analyst. I'm not sure like where normal is, but I do think it will get to a point where things kind of normalize. But I think it will stay much more elevated than before the pandemic.
And another one on let's say that implies that you have to take that crystal ball and make a guess on the future. Where do you see this whole AI mixing with all kind of games going to on this influencer subject?
It's wild, honestly. Like the AI, the VR, the metaverse, I read so many articles that are over here, over there, over here. And like no one has the same opinion, which is even more confusing. No one seems to like know where it's going. Of course, neither do I, but I think so we're millennials, then you have Gen Z, and then you have like Generation Alpha, who's 10 years old and younger. I think they're going to be in this like really crazy metaverse AI, like a world like you and I wouldn't even recognize. I think that's where it's going. So while like very vague, I think that's going to be a very normal thing. All digital items. Like I couldn't imagine, and I know this is all about the metaverse, I couldn't imagine like owning a sweater digitally. Like to me, my brain's like, no, I want the sweater for me. And I think that's just going to be so normal for them to like, no, like I have this sweater, but then I also have like my whole closet in the metaverse, or I have it all on like all digitally, virtually. And I can't even like comprehend that.
Yeah, neither can I. So what's in for the future, we're just gonna have to live it, and maybe our grandchildren would explain it to us like we are explaining our jobs to our parents.
I hope so.
Okay, really nice, Amanda. We are kind of closing in to our time limit. So any advice, anything you want to highlight, or like a closing statement for this, on this subject for our audience?
Closing statement. Okay. That's a good one. Research things you're interested in, because I'm not an expert in this, and that's my closing statement.
Okay, so we're sticking with research. Usually it's a good thing. So hopefully our everybody who's listening or watching will do their own research, and who knows what we're going to find out. Thank you very much, Amanda, for taking the time to have this cool chat with us. Thank you to our audience for tuning in. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to all our channels available on our website. Thank you, and see you next week.
Thank you for joining. Be sure to check back next week for the next HIPTHER Talks, and subscribe on Amazon Music, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and Pandora.